Popularity is one of those things that never feels attainable unless you dance to the tune of whatever monkey show pop culture is putting on nowadays. But there exists a few works that do something special. Wiping the smugness of all of those executives that have a strict formula and a holier-than-thou attitude, and creating a true masterpiece that would be remembered through generations of artists. This is the story of such artworks. If there is a quintessential example of something that says no in a sea of yes men, it has to be Dark Souls. Hidetaka Miyazaki always mentions how he didn't have a lot of ambition, and yet, despite him saying that, this man quit a rather cushy job at Oracle, joined a small game company called From Software, and started working as a programmer in a dev team in that same company, all because he was so inspired by another game called Ico. Imagine that! Truly giving up all security you worked your entire life for, just for the infinitely small chance that hopefully, he can take someone's breath away the same way Ico did. That passion was rewarded with opportunity. You see, From Software was dealing with a broken down game with medieval themes that wasn't even working. It was on the verge of being completely scrapped. And in its darkest hour, the unproven man understood what he needed to do to take that mantle and create something great. Something that would take the world's breath away. And after years of blood-draining work, effort, and passion, he created Demon Souls. It sold around 20,000 copies on release, and in a Tokyo Game Jam event, most people didn't even make it past the character creation screen. And all of his dreams were proven wrong, and the executives and their subtle hand of submission had been placed, asking him to allow his ambition to go hollow. Is what I would have said if there wasn't any hope. You see, people who weren't deterred by the difficulty loved the game. They loved it so much that through word of mouth alone, the sales got back up to 100k. And this reflection of passion reignited hope and ambition within Hidetaka, understanding that the problem wasn't the difficulty, but the accessibility and clarity of information. His next game would be much more difficult, but guess what? This time it will be clear, it will be fair, and this game will be Dark Souls. 1.9 million sales and 10 times more than what Demon Souls made, and 2.8 million by the 18th month mark from release. A true realization of Miyazaki's vision coupled with a sincere understanding of game design, this had finally launched From Software towards the forefront of gaming industry while allowing them to not only dominate with high quality games but also create a culture that accepts a whole new genre of difficult games. And we haven't even... If there is a quintessential example of something that says no in a sea of yes men, it has to be Undertale. Toby Fox always mentioned that he didn't plan on his work being as popular as it became. This man was basically what you would call a doggy dude who lived a life without much conflict or excitement. He really liked this game called Earthbound, one of the few games that jived with his doggy vibes, and because of Earthbound he got started in game dev and music production, making spooky ROM hacks for Earthbound and goofy out music for this internet comic called HOMESTUCK. Despite being a low-key dude, this man really cared about games. His doggy vibes were always about being peaceful, and it really salted his apples when most games today were cringe, talking about sex with guns and women. So he decided to make a game with real doggy vibes, where the mechanics are fun and the characters are funny. And that project was... This man made this small, silly game and thought, hey, maybe I could do this properly, and created a Kickstarter, and the internet went, wow man, you're asking for a lot of money. How about we give you 10 times more than that? And just like that, all of the doggy vibes accumulated all this time were now supercharged into doggo vibes. He probably lived the next 2 years of his life on coffee, oxygen and a prayer, hoping and coping that his game does not disappoint the people who raised the stakes 10 freaking times higher than he ever expected. He got more people to work with him, and finally, after 2 years, Undertale was out. And you know, it was fine. It was a decent success, and it just kind of sold around 1.3 million copies in 6 months on Steam alone. A true realization of Toby Fox's vision, coupled with a sincere want to give people something good, had finally launched Toby Fox's career to a height even he didn't know what to do with. Undertale was not only the top game of the year, but it also created a culture that accepted a whole new genre of story in video games, and we haven't even Chainsaw Man. If there is a quintessential example of something that says yes in a sea of no men, it has to be Chainsaw Man. Wait a minute. Tatsuki Fujimoto always mentions that he's inspired by so many things that he wouldn't be able to boil it down to one thing. This is the kind of man you would call a weird dude. There's not much known about what he was doing before he started doing manga, but studies show that he levitated, ate his pet fish, and got really turned on when women bullied him. This man already knew he wanted to be in Shonen Jump. No one could have told him otherwise. Bro kept sending them draft after draft of this shit, and when he finally had enough clout to get serialized, his first instinct wasn't to play to their rules and ask the editors what got popular. His first instinct was to... I'm not gonna spoil Fire Punch. I understand a lot of you might already know what it is, but I still won't spoil it. Read Fire Punch if you want more therapy. But I will say this. The ending is a bit rushed. It was clear that the Tatsuki man was being shown the clock by Shonen Jump, who was getting more impatient with the sales. And most mangakas who finish their serialization in Shonen Jump would probably just go, man, balls empty. But Tatsuki Fujimoto went, balls empty? Nah. Post-nut clarity, and he made around 23 million copies sold. Honestly, pretty good numbers. Got an anime adaptation by chapter 90. Honestly, pretty cool too. Yeah, no worries. Made everyone horny for all of the characters. Are you fucking shitting me? I can't even begin to tell you how personal and relatable Chainsaw Man felt. But I don't have to. Look at all of you. You clearly know what I'm talking about. In fact, every single one of these masterpieces of art have this intense, intimate feeling that I'm talking about. It's like looking into the heart and soul of the author and seeing yourself reflected back. Chainsaw Man was not only a big success, but it also created a culture that accepted a whole new genre of story in Shonen Jump. And we haven't even begun to see all the different kinds of perspectives that could move our hearts. Every story has a humble beginning where the potential for an artist to do great things is ignited by other great artists. This fire of inspiration is so personal and intimate that it forces them to dedicate their lives to keep doing this thing, even against impossible odds. There's repetition and boredom and a lot of disappointment, but there's no wavering of faith. And this faith is almost always rewarded with opportunity like none other before. This opportunity is not wasted with intention to be commercially viable, but it's used to be as vulnerable and as honest and as great as possible to show the world who we truly are. Regardless of whether it's a commercial success or not, that vulnerability does not go unnoticed. They all end up being insanely personal and real, and this honesty is what leads to the shift in culture and artists and a true acceptance of a new kind of passion. This has happened over and over and over again, and what is there to say that you couldn't do it as well?